sister threw my daughter into pool fully dressed for refusing to clean her shoes on a school morning. My dad held me by the neck to stop me from jumping in. "She shouldn't survive that water, she doesn't deserve life," he said. They never thought I'd take everything they valued. The pool water was 58 degrees that morning. I know this because I checked the thermometer afterward, my hands shaking so badly I could barely read the numbers through my tears. 58 degrees. Cold enough to shock a small body. Cold enough to make muscles seize. Cold enough to kill. My daughter was 7 years old. If you've ever watched someone you love more than your own life disappear beneath dark water while someone holds you back, if you've ever felt the primal scream tear from your throat while your own father's fingers dig into your neck, then you know that some mornings don't end. They just keep happening, over and over, in the quiet moments when you think you're finally safe. My name is Margot Chen, and this is the story of how my family tried to drown my daughter, and how I made them pay for every single second she couldn't breathe. The morning of March 15th started like any other school day in my parents' house. I was 34 years old, recently divorced, and temporarily living in my childhood home while I got back on my feet. That's what my mother called it, getting back on your feet, Margot. As if my failed marriage was a stumble, a minor inconvenience, rather than the implosion of everything I'd built over 12 years. My ex-husband David had kept the house. He'd kept the cars, the savings account, most of our friends. What he hadn't wanted was custody of our daughter Lily. Too much responsibility, he'd said. Too much disruption to his new life with his 26-year-old girlfriend. So Lily and I had moved into my parents' sprawling estate in Connecticut, into the guest house at the back of the property. My mother had been gracious about it, in that way she had of making generosity feel like a transaction. "Family helps family," she'd said, pressing her cool lips to my cheek. "That's what we do." What she meant was, "We own you now." I should have known better. I should have remembered what it was like growing up in that house, in the shadow of my perfect sister Diana. I should have remembered the way my father looked at me, like I was a calculation that never quite balanced. I should have remembered the silence, the expectations, the endless measuring of worth. But I was desperate. And desperate people make terrible decisions. Lily was already dressed when I came into the guest house kitchen that morning. She'd picked out her own outfit. A purple sweater with a unicorn on it, jeans with rhinestones on the pockets, her favorite light-up sneakers. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail she'd done herself, slightly crooked but determined. "Mommy, do I look nice?" she asked, spinning so the rhinestones caught the light. "You look beautiful, baby girl," I said. And I meant it. She was beautiful. Not just in the way all mothers think their children are beautiful, but in a way that made strangers stop and smile. Big brown eyes, dimples that appeared even when she wasn't quite smiling. A laugh that sounded like wind chimes. She was everything good I'd ever done in my life. "Aunt Diana is having breakfast at the big house," Lily said, her voice dropping slightly. "Grandma said we should come." My stomach tightened. Diana was visiting from Manhattan, where she lived in a penthouse apartment and ran a boutique PR firm that handled celebrities and politicians. She was 2 years younger than me, but had always seemed older, more sophisticated, more right in the world our parents had built. Diana didn't like children. She especially didn't like Lily. "We can eat here," Titi said quickly. "I'll make pancakes." But Grandma said, "Pancakes, Lily, with chocolate chips." Her eyes lit up, and for a moment, I thought I'd dodged it. But then my phone buzzed. "Mother, we're waiting. Breakfast is served." The message carried the weight of command. In my mother's house, breakfast wasn't a meal. It was a performance. Attendance wasn't optional. I looked at Lily, at her hopeful face, at the rhinestones and the crooked ponytail, and I made the second terrible decision of the morning. "Okay," I said, "let's go to the big house." The main house was a colonial revival mansion that my parents had bought 30 years ago, when my father's tech company had first gone public. 8 bedrooms, a library, a formal dining room that sat 20. An Olympic-sized pool in the back, heated year-round, surrounded by imported Italian tile. My mother was obsessed with that pool. When Diana and I were children, we'd been required to swim laps every morning before school. My mother believed it built character. What it actually built was a profound hatred of chlorine and a sister who excelled at everything while I struggled just to keep my head above water. Diana had been a competitive swimmer. I'd been the girl who almost drowned at age 9 because I'd had a panic attack in the deep end. Some memories never quite let go. We walked through the kitchen entrance, and I could already hear Diana's voice carrying from the breakfast room. Confident, polished. My mother's answering laugh, warm in a way it never was for me. "There they are," my father said as we entered. He was seated at the head of the table, Wall Street Journal open beside his plate. At 67, Gerald Chen still carried himself like the CEO he'd been. Sharp grey suit even at breakfast, silver hair perfectly combed, eyes that assessed everything and everyone for value. "Good morning, Dad," I said. He nodded, but did not smile. My mother, Patricia, gestured to the empty chairs. "Sit, sit." Diana was just telling us about her new client. Diana was already dressed for battle. Sleek black dress, red-soled heels, blonde highlights in her dark hair that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. She barely glanced at us as we sat down. "It's confidential, Mother," Diana said, taking a delicate bite of her egg white omelette. "I can't discuss clients." "Of course not, darling." Lily climbed into the chair beside me, her sneakers swinging above the floor. I noticed my mother's slight frown at the light-up feature. But she said nothing. The housekeeper brought out plates for us. Scrambled eggs, toast, fruit. Lily picked up her fork eagerly. "Lily," my mother said sharply, "napkin in your lap first." Lily's hand froze. She carefully placed her fork down and spread the cloth napkin across her small thighs. "Sorry, Grandma." "Manners matter," my mother said, "even for children." Especially for children, I thought. That's how you break them early. We ate in relative silence for a few minutes. Diana scrolled through her phone. My father read his paper. My mother watched Lily with that careful, measuring gaze that had haunted my childhood. Then Lily dropped a piece of strawberry. It was an accident. The fruit was slippery, her fork too big for her small hand. The strawberry tumbled off the plate and landed on the pristine white tablecloth, leaving a small pink stain. The silence was immediate. "I'm sorry," Lily whispered, her eyes already welling up. She could feel the shift in the room, the way predators sense movement in the grass. It's okay, baby, I said quickly, dabbing at the stain with my napkin. Accidents happen. Do they? My mother said coolly. Diana set her phone down with an audible sigh. This is exactly what I was talking about, Mother. You're too lenient with her. That's a hand-embroidered tablecloth from... She's 7, I interrupted. She dropped a strawberry. She's undisciplined, Diana shot back, just like you were. Remember when you broke Mother's Lalique vase? You were older than her. I did remember. I'd been 12, trying to dust the living room to earn extra allowance money. My elbow had caught the vase, and it had shattered into 1,000 pieces. My mother hadn't spoken to me for a week. That's different, I said. Is it? My father lowered his paper. Margot, we've welcomed you back into this home. We've provided for you and your daughter during your difficulties. The least you can do is ensure she respects our property. My hands were shaking. I could feel the familiar weight of childhood pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. She does respect. She's a child, Dad. Children make mistakes. Then correct them, he said simply, and went back to his paper. Lily was crying silently now, tears streaming down her cheeks. She hadn't touched the rest of her food. I wanted to scoop her up and run, but where would we go? I had 300 frontals in my bank account. My lawyer fees had drained everything else. Finish your breakfast, Lily, I said softly. It's okay. She sniffled and picked up her fork again. That's when Diana stood up. I need to leave for the city in 20 minutes, she announced. Mother, where are my black Louboutins? The ones I left here last visit? In the guest room closet, darling. Diana strode out of the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood. I exhaled slightly, thinking the worst was over. It wasn't. 5 minutes later, Diana's voice echoed through the house. What the hell is this? My mother stood immediately. What's wrong? Diana appeared in the doorway, holding up a pair of black stilettos. Even from across the room, I could see the problem. There was something on the shoes, something dark and muddy. These are $3,000 shoes, Diana seethed. Custom made. And there is mud on them. Who did this? She was looking directly at Lily. I didn't... Lily started, her voice small and terrified. Don't lie to me. Diana stalked forward. I left these in the guest room. You and your mother are staying in the guest house. You've been in my room, haven't you? Touching my things. Diana, I said, standing up. She didn't... Stay out of this, Margot. Diana's eyes never left Lily. I'm talking to your daughter, the one you clearly can't control. I went in to look, Lily whispered. I just wanted to see the pretty dresses, but I didn't touch the shoes. I promise. Then how is there mud on them? I don't know. Liar! The word cracked through the room like a whip. Lily flinched backward, nearly falling off her chair. That's enough, I said, my voice rising. You don't speak to my daughter that way. Diana rounded on me. Your daughter just ruined 3,000's worth of shoes, Margot. The same daughter you can't seem to parent properly. The same daughter who's constantly making messes in Mother's house, who has no manners, no discipline. She's 7 years old. She's a burden. Diana's voice went cold, just like you've always been. The silence after that was deafening. My mother cleared her throat. Diana, perhaps the shoes can be cleaned. They're ruined. Diana threw them on the floor. Just like everything Margot touches. I was shaking now, but not from fear, from rage. A lifetime of age that had been building since I was old enough to understand that I would never be enough for this family. Apologize to your aunt, my father said suddenly. I turned to him. What? Tell Lily to apologize. For something she didn't do? His jaw tightened. Margot, do not test me, not in my house. Lily was sobbing openly now, her small body shaking. She looked at me with those big brown eyes, and I saw something that broke my heart. She was looking to me to save her, and I was ailing. Baby, I whispered, kneeling beside her. Maybe just say sorry so we can... No. Lily's voice was suddenly firm. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and looked up at Diana. I didn't touch your shoes. I'm not sorry for something I didn't do. Mommy taught me not to lie. The pride that swelled in my chest was immediately crushed by the fury on Diana's face. You impudent little... Diana stepped forward. You need to learn your place in this family. You're not some princess. You're the unwanted child of a failed marriage, living off our charity. Diana! I screamed. Clean my shoes. Lily blinked. What? You heard me. Get on your knees and clean my shoes. Show some respect. She absolutely will not, I said, grabbing Lily's hand. We're leaving. You're not going anywhere. My father stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. Sit down, Margot. The girl will clean the shoes. It's the least she can do after destroying them. She didn't destroy anything. Then she'll clean them to prove it. His voice was ice. Diana is right. The child lacks discipline. This is a teaching moment. Lily pressed against my leg, trembling. Daddy, please, I begged. And I hated myself for it. Hated the way my voice turned small and childlike. She's just a little girl. Then she should learn now that actions have consequences. He turned to Lily. Clean the shoes or leave my house. Gerald? My mother said softly, a warning in her tone. No, Patricia, I'm done coddling them. Margot has been a disappointment her entire life. And now she's raising her daughter to be the same. Weak, undisciplined, worthless. Each word was a knife. Lily suddenly dropped my hand. Before I could stop her, she walked over to where Diana had thrown the shoes, knelt down on the cold floor and picked one up. Lily, no, I didn't. Baby, you don't have to. I'll clean them, Mummy, she said quietly. Then we can go. She started rubbing at the mud with her sleeve, her purple unicorn sleeve, trying to wipe away the stain. The mud smeared, leaving brown streaks across the purple fabric and doing nothing to clean the shoe. Diana laughed. It was a cruel sound. Look at her, she said to my parents. Using her clothing to clean, like an animal. Something snapped in me. I strode forward and grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her to her feet. We're done here. We're leaving. Margot, my father started. No, you can keep your house and your money and your toxic family dynamics. I will not let you treat my daughter like this. I started toward the door, Lily's hand tight in mine. I didn't see Diana move. 1 second we were walking. The next, Diana had grabbed Lily's other arm, yanking her backward. "She's not finished," Diana hissed. "The shoes aren't clean. Let go of her." "Make me," Lily screamed as Diana's grip tightened. "Mommy!" I lunged for Diana, trying to pry her fingers off Lily's arm. "Let go of my daughter right now, or I swear to God." "What? What will you do, Margot? You can't even take care of yourself." We were struggling now, Lily caught between us, crying and pulling away. In the chaos, I saw my mother standing frozen by the table, her hand over her mouth. My father was watching with cold calculation. "Gerald, stop them," my mother said. He didn't move. And then Diana did something I will never forget as long as I live. She let go of Lily's arm so suddenly that I stumbled backward. But before I could catch Lily, Diana grabbed her by the back of her sweater. "You want to clean something?" Diana sneered. "Let's get you really clean." She started dragging Lily toward the back door. "What are you doing?" I screamed, scrambling to my feet. The back door led to the pool. "Diana, stop, stop!" I ran after them, but Diana was faster. She threw open the back door, cold March air rushing in, and dragged Lily toward the pool. The water was still and dark, steam rising in the morning chill. Heated, but not warm. Never warm in winter. "Diana, no!" Lily was screaming now, trying to pull away, her small body no match for Diana's rage-fueled strength. I was almost there, almost. And then my father's hands closed around my neck. The memory of those next few seconds is fractured, like a mirror dropped on concrete. Shards of images, pieces that don't quite fit together. My father's fingers digging into my throat. Lily's scream, high and terrified. Diana reaching the edge of the pool. The splash. "Lily!" I was clawing at my father's hands, but he was strong, stronger than a 67-year-old man had any right to be. His fingers squeezed tighter, not enough to choke me, but enough to hold me in place. "She needs to learn," he said calmly in my ear. "They both do." "She's in the water, she'll drown. Dad, please." Lily was thrashing in the pool, her heavy winter clothing, the jeans, the sneakers, the sweater, pulling her down. She'd never been a strong swimmer. She was 7. "Help her." I was sobbing, scratching at his hands. "Please, God, help her." Diana stood at the edge of the pool, arms crossed, watching. Just watching. "Diana," I screamed. "Pull her out, please." My sister looked at me and her eyes were dead. "She'll learn. She'll drown. Then maybe she should." My father's grip tightened. "She shouldn't survive that water," he said, his voice terrifyingly calm. "She doesn't deserve life. Not in this family, you heard." The words didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. This was my father. This was my family. People didn't say things like that about children, about their own granddaughter. But he had said it, and he meant it. Lily's head went under. Something primal erupted in me, a strength I didn't know I possessed. I threw my elbow back into my father's stomach with every ounce of force in my body. He grunted, his grip loosening just enough for me to tear free. I ran. The pool edge seemed miles away, but I was moving faster than I'd ever moved in my life. I saw Lily surface, gasping, her arms flailing, then go under again. "Hold on, baby! Mummy's coming!" I dove. The water was a shock, cold enough to steal my breath, to make my muscles seize. But I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. I swam to where I'd seen her go down, reached into the murky depths and felt her sweater. I grabbed it and pulled. Lily surfaced, coughing and sputtering, her eyes wild with terror. She clutched at me, pulling us both down. "I've got you," I gasped. "I've got you, baby. Hold on to Mummy." I kicked toward the shallow end, my clothing weighing me down, Lily clinging to my neck so tightly I could barely breathe. My lungs burned. My muscles screamed. But I didn't let go. Finally, my feet touched the bottom. I stood up in the 4-foot section, lifting Lily out of the water and holding her against my chest. She was shaking violently, sobbing, her lips blue from the cold. "You're okay?" I kept saying. "You're okay? Mommy's got you." I looked up at the edge of the pool. My father and Diana stood there, side by side. They weren't rushing to help. They weren't calling 911. They were just standing there, watching. My mother had come outside now and stood a few feet behind them, her hand still over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. But she didn't move to help either. None of them helped. "You..." I couldn't even find words. "You tried to kill her, Ison. You tried to kill my daughter. We were teaching her a lesson," Diana said coolly. "She's 7. My father adjusted his suit jacket, smoothing down the fabric I'd wrinkled in my struggle. "Margot, you're being hysterical. The girl is fine. A little cold water never hurt anyone. She could have drowned. But she didn't." He looked at me with those calculating eyes. "You saved her. How heroic. Now, when you're done with your theatrics, perhaps you'd like to come inside and discuss your future in this family." I stared at him, at the man who had raised me, who had held me by the neck while his granddaughter drowned. "There is no future," I said, my voice shaking. "We're done. We're leaving, and we're never coming back." Diana laughed. "And go where exactly?" "You have nothing, Margot. No money, no home, no job. You're nobody. You've always been nobody." "I would rather be nobody than be part of this family." "Margot," my mother finally spoke, stepping forward. "Let's not be hasty. Diana got carried away, certainly, but..." "Carried away?" I was screaming now, Lily pressed against my shoulder, still shaking. "She threw my daughter in the pool. Dad held me back and said she didn't deserve to live." "This isn't getting carried away, Mother. This is attempted murder." "You're being dramatic," my father said. "As always." I waded toward the pool steps, Lily still in my arms. When I climbed out, water streaming from our clothes, I didn't look at any of them. I walked past them, past Diana's smirk, past my father's cold gaze, past my mother's useless tears. "Margot, wait," my mother called. "Where will you go?" I stopped but didn't turn around. "Anywhere but here." "You'll be back," Diana said confidently. "You always come back. You can't survive without us." I turned then, looking at my sister, at the woman who had thrown my child into freezing water, over a pair of shoes. "Watch me." I wrapped Lily in every towel I could find in the guest house, then stripped off her wet clothes and put her in the warmest pajamas she had. She wouldn't stop shaking, and I wasn't sure if it was from the cold or the trauma. Probably both. "Mommy." Her voice was tiny. Yes, baby? Why did Aunt Diana do that? I didn't have an answer. How do you explain evil to a 7-year-old? How do you tell your child that the people who were supposed to love her wanted her dead? Aunt Diana is not a nice person, I finally said. And neither is Grandpa. We're not going to see them anymore. But where will we go? I don't know yet. But we'll figure it out. We always do. She curled up against me on the bed, her small body pressed into mine. I held her tight, feeling her heartbeat, reminding myself that she was alive. She was alive because I'd gotten there in time. Seconds later would have been too late. I picked up my phone with my free hand and called the only person I could think of. Kelly, it's Margot. I need help. Kelly Jang had been my college roommate, my best friend, the maid of honor at my wedding. She was also a lawyer, family law specifically. She'd been the one who'd helped me through my divorce, even though I couldn't afford her rates. Margot, what's wrong? You sound as my sister tried to drown Lily. Silence on the other end. What? I told her everything. The breakfast, the shoes, the pool. My father's hands on my neck. His words about Lily not deserving to live. When I finished, Kelly was silent for a long moment. I'm calling the police, she finally said. This is attempted murder, Margot. Child endangerment at minimum. They won't believe me. Why not? Because they're the Chens. My father has connections everywhere. The police chief, the mayor, half the judges in the county. They donate to everyone. They're pillars of the community. That doesn't make them above the law. Doesn't it? Another pause. Where are you now? Still in the guest house. We're wet and cold, but Lily's okay. I think she's okay. Get out of there. Come to my place in the city. You can stay with me as long as you need. Kelly, I can't. You can and you will. Get in your car and drive. Don't stop. Don't talk to them. Just leave. I looked at Lily, who had fallen into an exhausted sleep against my chest. Okay, I said. We're coming. I packed quickly. Just the essentials. Clothes for Lily and me. Toiletries, documents, Lily's favorite stuffed unicorn. I didn't have much anyway. Most of our belongings were still in the house David and I had shared, which he'd informed me he was selling. My entire life fit into 2 suitcases. As I was loading them into my car, a 10-year-old Honda that David had called embarrassing, I heard footsteps on the gravel path. My mother. She looked older than she had at breakfast, her face pale and drawn. She'd been crying, but her eyes were dry now. Margot, please. Don't leave like this. How should I leave, Mother? Should I thank you for your hospitality while my daughter nearly drowned? It was an accident. It was not an accident. I slammed the trunk closed. Diana threw her in deliberately. Dad held me back. There was nothing accidental about it. Diana lost her temper. She didn't mean to potentially kill my child. How is that an excuse? My mother was quiet for a moment. Then, where will you go? Does it matter? Of course it matters. You're my daughter. Am I? Because you didn't seem to remember that when I was begging you to help Lily. She flinched. Good. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. You could have pulled her out. You could have stopped Diana. You could have done something other than stand there. Your father. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't you dare blame him, you're just as responsible. You've always let them treat me like I'm worthless. You've always stood by while they diminished me, belittled me, made me feel like I was never enough. And now you stood by while they nearly killed my daughter. You're not innocent in this, Mother. You never have been. Tears spilled down her cheeks again. Margot, I love you. Do you? Because love doesn't look like this. I opened the car door. We're leaving. Don't contact me. Please. I got in the car and closed the door. Through the window, I could see her still standing there, crying. Her designer suit perfect, even in her grief. I started the engine and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I watched my childhood home grow smaller until it disappeared entirely. Lily slept for most of the drive to Manhattan. I kept checking on her, making sure she was breathing, that her color was returning to normal. Every few minutes, I'd reach back and touch her hand, just to feel her warmth. She was alive, she was alive. I repeated it like a mantra. Kelly's apartment was in the Upper West Side, a comfortable 2 bedrooms she shared with her cat, Mr. Darcy. She was waiting in the lobby when I pulled up, and the moment she saw me, her face crumpled. Oh, Margot! She helped me carry our suitcases upstairs while I carried Lily, who was still groggy with sleep. Once we were inside, Kelly took over. You need hot showers, both of you. Then food. When's the last time you ate? I couldn't remember. I'll order Thai. Go shower. I wanted to argue, but I didn't have the energy. I took Lily into the bathroom and turned on the water, letting the room fill with steam. We showered together, me washing the chlorine from her hair, checking her skin for any marks from where Diana had grabbed her. There were bruises on her upper arm, purple fingerprints on her pale skin. Evidence, my lawyer brain whispered. Take pictures. So I did. With my phone, I documented every mark, every bruise. Then I took pictures of the bruises forming on my own neck from my father's grip. When we emerged, clean and dressed in warm clothes, Kelly had Thai food spread across the coffee table and hot chocolate waiting. Lily's eyes lit up slightly at the chocolate, and I felt a tiny piece of my heart heal. We ate quietly. Lily cuddled between me and Kelly on the couch. Mr. Darcy wound around our legs, purring. Can I watch TV? Lily asked eventually. Of course, sweetie, Kelly said, handing her the remote. Lily found cartoons and settled in, her eyes already drooping again. Within minutes, she was asleep. Kelly gestured for me to follow her to the kitchen. Tell me everything again, she said quietly. All of it. So I did. Every detail I could remember. The breakfast, the shoes, Diana's rage, my father's words, the cold water, the struggle. Kelly took notes. Her lawyer's mind already working. We need to file a police report, she said when I finished. Tonight. They won't do anything. Maybe not. But we need it on record. We also need to get Lily checked by a doctor. Make sure there's no water in her lungs. Document the injuries. It's 10 o'clock at night. ER visit. Now, while the bruises are fresh. I looked at Lily, finally peaceful on the couch. I don't want to wake her. I know, but this is important, Margot. If they try anything, custody games, harassment, anything, we need documentation. We need proof. She was right. I knew she was right. So we woke Lily gently, bundled her into Kelly's car and drove to the hospital. The ER doctor was a kind woman with grey hair and gentle hands. She examined Lily thoroughly, taking x-rays of her lungs, documenting every bruise, asking questions in a soft voice that didn't scare her. Has she had any breathing difficulties? Coughing? Fever? She coughed a lot when I pulled her out, but nothing since. The doctor nodded. Her lungs are clear. That's good. The water didn't have time to do much damage. But these bruises... She looked at me. These are concerning. Someone grabbed her hard. My sister. Before throwing her in the pool. Yes. The doctor was quiet for a moment. I'm obligated to report this to Child Protective Services. I felt my stomach drop. Wait. Not to investigate you, she said quickly. To investigate the incident. You were the one who saved her. But there needs to be an official record. Kelly stepped forward. That's actually good for us, Margot. CPS documentation will support any legal action. Legal action? I hadn't thought that far ahead. What legal action? Kelly's eyes were fierce. We're going to destroy them, all of them. We filed a police report that night. The officer who took our statement was sympathetic but pessimistic. The Chens are... He paused. They're well known in the community. They tried to kill my daughter. I understand, ma'am. I'll file the report. But I'm being honest with you. Without witnesses outside the family, it's going to be their word against yours. I'm her family. And you're also in a custody dispute with their money and resources backing the other side. He sighed. I'm not saying don't pursue this. I'm saying be prepared for an uphill battle. Kelly squeezed my hand. We're prepared. That night, with Lily safe in Kelly's spare room, I sat on the couch and finally let myself cry. Everything I'd thought I knew about my family had shattered. The people who were supposed to love me, who were supposed to love Lily, had shown their true faces, and those faces were monstrous. My father's words echoed in my head. She doesn't deserve life. How do you reconcile that? How do you understand that the man who read you bedtime stories as a child would hold you back while your daughter drowned? You don't. You can't. So you do the only thing you can. You survive. And then you make them pay. Kelly found me crying at 2 a.m. and sat beside me without a word. She put her arm around my shoulders and let me sob until I had nothing left. What am I going to do? I finally whispered. I have nothing. No money, no job, no home. How am I supposed to fight them? You're not nothing, Kelly said firmly. You have a degree from Columbia. You have 10 years of experience in marketing. You have skills and intelligence and strength. You're going to rebuild. With what? With me. With the people who actually care about you. We're going to figure this out. They'll come for me, you know they will. My father doesn't lose. Ever. Then we'll make sure he loses this time. I looked at her, at the determination in her eyes, and felt something spark in my chest. It wasn't hope. Not yet. But it was something. How? Legally first. We're going to document everything. File for a restraining order. Explore criminal charges. And then... She smiled, and there was steel in it. Then we're going to hit them where it hurts. Their money? their reputation, their image, their carefully constructed world where they're the perfect family and you're the black sheep. They'll bury me. Not if we bury them first. She took my hand. Margot, I've known you for 15 years. You are not the person they made you believe you are. You're not weak or worthless or a burden. You're a mother who'd dove into freezing water to save her child. You're a survivor, and now you're going to be a warrior. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. Sleep, she said finally. Tomorrow we start planning. But tonight, you need to rest. She was right. I was exhausted. Physically, emotionally, spiritually drained. I checked on Lily one more time, watching her breathe, her small chest rising and falling under the covers. Then I went to the couch, wrapped myself in the blanket Kelly had left out, and closed my eyes. Sleep didn't come easily. Every time I started to drift off, I'd see Lily's head going underwater, hear my father's voice in my ear, feel Diana's grip on my daughter's arm. But eventually, exhaustion won, and I dreamed of revenge. 3 weeks after my daughter nearly drowned, I got a job. It wasn't the career I'd left behind when I married David. No corner office at a prestigious marketing firm, no business cards with impressive titles, no client lunches at expensive restaurants. It was an entry-level position at a small digital marketing agency in Brooklyn, working for a woman half my age who called me ma'am and made me feel ancient at 34. But it paid. Kelly had fronted me the money for first month's rent on a tiny apartment in Queens, a one-bedroom where Lily and I shared the only bedroom, and I slept on a pull-out mattress beside her bed. The kitchen was the size of a closet. The bathroom had mold in the corners I couldn't quite scrub away. And the neighbors upstairs played music until 3 a.m. It was ours. Lily was enrolled in the local public school, a far cry from the prestigious academy my parents had been funding. Her class size was 32 instead of 15, and she had to share textbooks that were outdated by 5 years. But she came home happy, talking about her new friend Sophia, who shared her love of unicorns. And that was enough. It had to be enough. Mrs. Chen? I looked up from my computer to find my supervisor, Brianna, standing at my cubicle. She was 26, wore ripped jeans to the office, and had a nose ring that sparkled under the fluorescent lights. It's Miss Chen, I corrected gently. I'm divorced. Oh, right. Sorry, Miss Chen. Can you run the analytics on the Thompson account? I need them by 5. Of course. When she walked away, I turned back to my screen and started pulling the data. It was mind-numbing work, the kind I delegated to interns back when I had a career. But I was grateful for it. Grateful for the paycheck. Grateful for the routine. Grateful for the hours where I could focus on something other than the nightmare my life had become. The restraining order against my family had been denied. Kelly had warned me it might be. Judges in Connecticut, especially ones who've received campaign contributions from your father, are going to be sympathetic to his narrative, she'd explained. And his narrative was damning. According to Gerald Chen, his troubled daughter had misunderstood a disciplinary incident with his granddaughter. Diana hadn't thrown Lily in the pool. Lily had fallen in while Diana was trying to teach her responsibility. My father hadn't held me back from saving her. He'd been trying to prevent me from making a hysterical scene. It was gaslighting on a legal scale. We have the medical records, I'd said desperately. The bruises, the doctor's report, which they explain as injuries from her trying to grab onto the pool edge, and your grip when you pulled her out. Kelly had replied wearily. Margot, these people are masters at manipulation. They've spun a story that makes you look unstable and them look reasonable. The police had closed their investigation. Insufficient evidence. CPS had visited the main house and found a loving family environment with unfortunately strained relationships. My mother had apparently cried beautifully during the interview, talking about how she just wanted her daughter and granddaughter to come home. They were winning, and I was running out of options. My phone buzzed as I was finishing the analytics report. David's name on the screen. I stepped outside to take the call. What do you want? Hello to you too, Margot. His voice was smooth, unbothered. The voice of a man who'd moved on easily. I need to discuss Lily's summer plans. What about them? I'm getting married. Jessica and I are going to Bali for the honeymoon, and we thought Lily might want to join us for a few days. Give you a break. Jessica, the 26-year-old, younger than Brianna. Absolutely not. Margot, be reasonable. Reasonable? You gave up custody because you didn't want the responsibility, and now you want to take her to Bali with your new wife? No. She's my daughter too. Then act like her father. You see, you haven't called her once since we moved. Not once. Silence. I've been busy, he finally said. Too busy for your own child. Got it. The answer is no. Don't call again. I hung up before he could respond. When I went back inside, I saw that my hands were shaking. I hid them under my desk and stared at my computer screen without seeing it. Everything was falling apart. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started researching. Kelly had given me the name of a private investigator, someone who specialized in digging up dirt, as she'd put it. Someone who could find the skeletons in my family's closet. Everyone has secrets, she'd said, even the Chens. The investigator's name was Marcus Reed, and his website was sleek and professional. Former FBI, specializing in financial forensics and personal investigations. His rates were astronomical. I had $203 in my checking account after paying rent and utilities. I closed the laptop. Outside my window, I could hear the neighbors arguing. Somewhere in the building, a baby was crying. The radiator clanked and groaned. This was my life now. A life built on the ashes of everything I'd thought I had. My phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I'd ignore it, but something made me answer. Margot Chen? Yes? This is Marcus Reed. Kelly Jang gave me your contact information. I sat up straighter. Mr. Reed, I was just looking at your website. Call me Marcus. Kelly told me about your situation. She's an old friend. We worked a case together years ago. She says you need help. I can't afford your rates. We'll get to that. First, tell me what happened. So I did. Again. The story was becoming rote now. A horror movie I'd watched so many times I could recite the dialogue. When I finished, Marcus was quiet for a moment. That's quite a story. It's the truth. I believe you. Kelly wouldn't have called me if she didn't believe you. And I trust her judgment. Here's the thing. Margot, I looked into your family before calling. The Chens are connected. Your father sits on 3 corporate boards, donates to half the politicians in Connecticut, and has a reputation as a philanthropist. Your sister represents some very high-profile clients. Your mother chairs multiple charitable organizations. I know all of this. Then you know that taking them on is going to require more than a police report and some bruises. You need leverage. Real leverage. What kind? The kind that makes powerful people suddenly very cooperative. Financial crimes, affairs, fraud. Something that matters more to them than punishing you. I thought about my father, about his obsession with image and legacy, about Diana's clients, about my mother's charity work. Everyone has secrets, I said slowly. Everyone. Marcus paused. My usual rate is 500 an hour. My heart sank. But for this case, I'm going to work on contingency. What? Meaning if we find something worth pursuing legally, I'll take a percentage of any settlement or judgment. If we don't find anything, you owe me nothing. Why would you do that? Because I believe in justice, and because your father sued me 10 years ago when I investigated one of his business partners. Cost me a fortune defending myself even though I won. I'd very much like to return the favor. It felt like fate. Or karma. Or something. What do you need from me? I asked. Everything you know about your family's finances, business dealings, associates, and access. Do you still have keys to the property? I thought about the key on my keychain, the one I'd forgotten to return. Yes. Good. We're going to need them. The next few weeks were a blur of work, single motherhood, and clandestine meetings with Marcus. He was thorough, almost obsessively so. He wanted to know everything. My father's daily routines, Diana's client list, my mother's charitable organizations. He asked about business trips, private conversations I'd overheard, arguments, anything that might indicate hidden dealings. I gave him what I could, but the truth was, I'd been on the outside of my family's inner workings for years. David and I had lived an hour away, and I'd been systematically excluded from family business discussions. Your father keeps you at arm's length, Marcus observed during one of our meetings. That's intentional, classic behavior for someone with something to hide. Or he just doesn't think I'm competent enough to be involved. Both can be true. One night, after a particularly long day at work and a difficult homework session with Lily, second-grade math was apparently much harder than I remembered. I was going through old photos on my laptop when something caught my eye. It was a picture from 2 years ago, taken at my parents' anniversary party. The entire family was there. My parents, Diana and her then boyfriend, David and me, Lily in her flower girl dress. We'd held the party at their house, and in the background of the photo, visible through the living room window, was my father's home office. I zoomed in. On his desk, clear as day, was a stack of folders. I could just make out a logo on the top folder, a company I didn't recognize. Next to the folders was what looked like a flash drive. My father was meticulous about security. His office was always locked. His computer password protected. His files kept in a safe. For him to leave documents out during a party seemed wrong. I called Marcus. I might have something, I said. Can you meet me tomorrow? Marcus studied the photo with the intensity of a surgeon examining an X-ray. Chen Industrial Solutions, he said. pointing to the logo. That's not one of your father's companies. I've never heard of it, because it doesn't exist anymore. It was dissolved 3 years ago. But here's the interesting thing. He pulled up something on his laptop. Before it was dissolved, Chen Industrial Solutions received a 40 million investment from a venture capital firm that your father sits on the board of. So the company produced nothing. No products, no revenue, nothing. They took the money, paid themselves hefty salaries for 2 years, then dissolved. All perfectly legal if you don't look too closely. What does that mean? It means your father might be involved in investment fraud, moving money through shell companies, skimming off the top. It's a classic scheme for someone in his position. My heart was racing. Can you prove it? Not with this photo. But if we could get into his office, get copies of those documents or that flash drive, that's trespassing. You have a key, and technically, it's still your family home. That I was kicked out of. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Margot, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if your father is involved in fraud, there are victims. Investors who lost money. Companies that went under. Justice for you and Lily might also mean justice for them. I thought about it all night. Mommy, why are you sad? I looked down at Lily, who was playing with her unicorns on the living room floor. The living room that was also our bedroom. I'm not sad, baby. Just thinking. About the pool. My stomach clenched. We'd talked about it, she and I. Kelly had recommended a child therapist who specialized in trauma, and Lily had been seeing her once a week. Dr. Martinez said she was processing, that children were resilient, that with support she'd be okay. But sometimes, late at night, I'd hear her crying out in her sleep, thrashing. And I'd hold her until she settled, my heart breaking all over again. A little bit, I admitted. But also about how to make sure nothing like that ever happens again. She was quiet for a moment. Then, are we ever going to see Grandma and Grandpa again? Do you want to? She shook her head quickly. No, Grandpa was mean. He hurt you. Yes, he did. And Aunt Diana hurt me. Yes. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes. Mommy, why don't they love us? There it was. The question I'd been asking myself for 34 years. I don't know, baby. Some people have trouble loving. It's not about us, it's about them. They're broken inside. Like a broken toy. Yes, like a broken toy. She seemed to accept this explanation, turning back to her unicorns. I watched her play, her small hands arranging the figures into elaborate scenes, her mouth moving as she gave them voices. She was everything good in my world, and my family had tried to take her from me. That night, after she was asleep, I texted Marcus. I'll do it. Tell me what you need. The plan was simple. My mother always attended her charity board meetings on Thursday evenings, and my father had his poker game at the club. Diana would be in the city. The house would be empty except for the housekeeper, who left at 6 p.m. I would go in, get to my father's office, and photograph everything I could find. Simple. Terrifying. Kelly agreed to stay with Lily. She knew what I was planning and was worried. This could backfire spectacularly. She warned. If they catch you, they'll use it against you. Call you unstable, claim you're harassing them. They already think I'm unstable. Margot? Kelly, I don't have another option. I can't afford a long legal battle. I can't afford to fight them in court where they have every advantage. But if they're involved in fraud, if I can prove it, I have leverage. Or they'll bury you completely. Then at least I'll know I tried. She didn't say anything else, but her face spoke volumes. Thursday came too quickly. I drove to Connecticut after work, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The familiar roads felt foreign now, like I was driving through a stranger's memory. When I reached the property, I parked on a side street and walked the rest of the way. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lawn. The house looked exactly as it always had. Beautiful, imposing, perfect. A prison dressed up as a palace. I circled around to the back, staying in the tree line, and approached the guest house first. If anyone asked, I could say I was getting more of my belongings. But no one asked because no one was there. I used my key on the main house's side door, the one near the kitchen that the housekeeper always left unlocked for deliveries. It opened easily. Inside, the house was silent, smelled the same, furniture polish and my mother's expensive perfume lingering in the air. Everything was exactly as I remembered, down to the fresh flowers on the entryway table. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I made my way to my father's office on the second floor. The door was closed but not locked. Arrogant of him. But then again, he'd never expected anyone to challenge him in his own home. The office was neat and organized, exactly as I remembered. Mahogany desk, leather chair, bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes he'd never read. His computer sat on the desk, powered down. No flash drive visible, but there was a filing cabinet in the corner. I tried the drawers. Locked. But I remembered. My mother kept spare keys to everything in the kitchen drawer, organized by tag. Father's office cabinet was on a green tag. I hurried back downstairs, found the key, and returned. Every second felt like an hour. The cabinet opened to reveal files. Dozens of them. I started photographing systematically, my phone's camera clicking rapidly. Financial statements, investment records, company names I didn't recognize. Then I found it. A folder labeled CIS, Chen Industrial Solutions. Inside were bank statements, transfer records, and correspondence. I photographed everything, page by page, my hands steady despite my racing heart. At the bottom of the folder was a flash drive. I grabbed it without thinking, shoving it into my pocket. I was just closing the cabinet when I heard it, the front door opening downstairs. Voices. My mother and my father. They were home early. Panic flooded through me. I closed the cabinet as quietly as possible, replaced the key, and looked frantically for a hiding spot. The closet. I ducked inside, pulling the door almost shut but leaving a crack so I could see. Footsteps on the stairs. Ridiculous, my father was saying. The poker game was a waste of time. Harrison is angling for that board seat. Then give it to him, my mother replied. Gerald, we have bigger concerns. The investigator Margot hired, Marcus Reed, I know. I've already made calls. They were in the office now. I could see my father through the crack, his face tight with anger. He's digging into our finances, my father continued. The shell companies. Can he find anything? Not if I move quickly enough. I've already started transferring assets. By the time he gets anywhere, there'll be nothing to find. My mother sat in one of the guest chairs. And Margot? What about her? Gerald, she's our daughter. She's a problem, one that needs to be contained. The coldness in his voice made my blood freeze. She's threatening everything we've built, my father continued. Everything. Do you understand what happens if this comes out? The fraud charges alone would destroy us. Not to mention Diana's career. She's used the family connections to build her client base. If people found out, then we need to make sure they don't find out. That's what I'm saying. We need to discredit Margot completely. Make her look unstable, unfit. If she loses custody of Lily, she'd never recover. My mother finished. Exactly. And no one would believe her stories about the pool incident if she's been deemed an unfit mother. I pressed my hand against my mouth to keep from making a sound. They were planning to take Lily from me. I've already spoken with Judge Morrison, my father said. An old friend. He's sympathetic to our situation. A troubled daughter making wild accusations, possible mental illness. If we file for emergency custody based on Margot's instability... Gerald. What? She's still our daughter. She's a threat to this family. She's always been the weak link, Patricia, you know that. And now she's trying to destroy everything because she's angry about a disciplinary incident. Diana threw her child in the pool. The child is fine. She almost drowned, Zidane. Almost. The operative word. Diana got carried away, I admit that. But Margot's reaction is disproportionate. She's out of control, Guy. My mother was silent for a long moment. Then, what do you need me to do? Play your part. The concerned grandmother, the worried mother. Talk to your friends about how troubled Margot has become since the divorce. The instability, the paranoia, the unfounded accusations. Groundwork, yes. When we go to court, we'll have character witnesses. Friends, colleagues, people who've seen Margot's erratic behavior. And the actual evidence? The bruises? The police report? All explained by her mental state. She hurt Lily herself and is projecting the blame onto us. Classic behavior for someone experiencing a psychotic break. I wanted to scream. They were constructing a narrative to paint me as crazy, to take my daughter, to destroy me completely. What about Diana? My mother asked. Diana knows what's at stake. She'll cooperate. Besides, she's never liked Margot. This gives her exactly what she wants. Margot out of the picture permanently. And Lily? What about her? If we gain custody, we'll deal with that then. Maybe boarding school. Somewhere she can learn proper behavior. Or Diana could take her. She's always needed an heir for the trust anyway. My blood ran cold. They were discussing my daughter like she was property to be redistributed. I don't like this, my mother said softly. You don't have to like it. You just have to do it. Unless you'd prefer to see everything we've built crumble because your daughter can't keep her mouth shut. Silence. I'll make the calls, my mother finally said. Good. I need to secure these files. He moved toward the filing cabinet, toward where I was hiding. I held my breath. His hand reached for the drawer, and I saw him pause. Look at the cabinet lock. Did you touch this? He asked. What? The cabinet. Did you open it? No. Why would I? He stared at it for a long moment. Then he checked the lock. It's still locked. Never mind. I'm being paranoid. My entire body was shaking. He and my mother left the office, their footsteps fading down the hall. I heard them descend the stairs, heard the murmur of their voices in the distance. I had to get out, now. I waited until I heard them in the kitchen, then slipped out of the closet and moved as quietly as possible to the office door. The hallway was clear. I made my way down the stairs, heart in my throat, and toward the side door I'd entered through. Every step sounded impossibly loud. Every shadow seemed threatening. But I made it. I slipped out the door, eased it closed behind me, and ran. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. On the drive back to the city, I called Marcus. I got out. I have photos of everything, and I found a flash drive. Did they see you? No, but I heard them talking. I told him everything. The plan to take Lily, the judge they'd bribed, the scheme to paint me as mentally unstable. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. This is bigger than I thought, he finally said. They're not just protecting themselves from fraud charges. They're actively conspiring to take your child through false pretenses. That's criminal. Can we use what I heard? Unfortunately, no. It's hearsay, and you were technically trespassing when you heard it. But the documents you photographed, and especially that flash drive, those are different. If they contain evidence of fraud, we have grounds for a criminal investigation. And that stops them from taking Lily. Not directly, but if your father is under federal investigation for financial crimes, his credibility as someone seeking custody evaporates. No judge, no matter how friendly, will give custody to someone facing fraud charges. It was something. It had to be enough. Kelly was waiting when I got home, Lily asleep on the couch beside her. Well? She asked anxiously. I held up the flash drive. I got it. The flash drive contained everything. Marcus and I met the next evening at his office. A sleek space in Midtown that spoke of success and discretion. He'd inserted the drive into an air-gapped computer, forensics protocol, he explained, and was now scrolling through files while I watched over his shoulder. Jesus, he muttered. What? Your father didn't just commit fraud. He committed systematic fraud. Look at this. He pointed to a spreadsheet. This is a decade of shell companies. Chen Industrial Solutions was just one. There are at least 7 more. Each one received significant investment capital, produced nothing, and was dissolved within 2 to 3 years. How much money? He did quick mental calculations. Conservative estimate? Over 200 million in diverted funds. I felt dizzy. 200 million? That's not all. Some of these companies have names I recognize. They're connected to federal contracts. If your father was skimming from government-funded projects, that's federal fraud. Yes, and it means prison time. Real prison time. I sank into the chair beside him. $200 million. My father, the philanthropist, the pillar of the community, had stolen $200 million. There's more, Marcus said. Look at this correspondence. He pulled up an email chain. The sender was my father. The recipient was someone named Victor Huang. Victor, the latest transfer is complete. 15 islands moved through CIS to our accounts. Diana handled the PR angle. No one suspects a thing. Patricia's charity is the perfect front for the foundation money. Everything is clean. Next quarter, torn. We initiate the Collins Holdings project. Expected return, $30 million. Regards, Gerald. I stared at the screen. Diana knew. My mother knew. The entire family was involved. Your father used your mother's charitable organization to launder money, Marcus said flatly. Your sister's PR firm to create cover stories for these shell companies. This is a family criminal enterprise. They tried to kill my daughter, I whispered, and the whole time they were running a 200 million fraud operation. Margot, do you understand what this means? I looked at him. It means we have them, he said, completely. This isn't leverage, this is devastation. If we turn this over to the FBI, your father goes to prison. Your mother goes to prison. Diana might avoid prison but loses her license, her career, everything. They'll destroy me first. The custody play, the mental instability narrative. Not if we move fast. I have contacts at the FBI, people who won't be influenced by your father's connections. If we turn this over tonight, they can open an investigation immediately. Once that happens, any custody proceeding your father initiates will be tainted. No judge will touch it. My hands were shaking again. This was it. The moment where everything changed. Do it, I said. The FBI moved faster than I could have imagined. Within 48 hours of Marcus submitting the flash drive and documentation to his contact, federal agents had frozen my father's accounts, seized records from his offices, and begun interviewing his business associates. Gerald Chen's perfect world was crumbling. I watched it happen from my tiny apartment in Queens, following the news coverage with a mixture of vindication and grief. Connecticut tech mogul under investigation for financial fraud. Chen industrial empire crumbles amid federal probe. Philanthropists' dark secret. 200 Palamon fraud scheme exposed. The reporters love the angle. The respected businessman, the charitable family, the stunning betrayal. They camped outside my parents' house, capturing my mother's tearful attempts to leave for grocery shopping. My father's terse no comment as he drove to meet with his lawyers. Kelly called every day to check on me. How are you holding up? I don't know, I admitted. I should feel happy, right? Vindicated. They deserved this. But they're still my family. Even after everything. There's a part of me that's grieving. That's normal, Margot. You're not a monster. Unlike them. Unlike them. Yes. 1 week after the investigation went public, Diana called me. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Margot. Her voice was different. Tight. Controlled but barely. Diana. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Please. The words seemed to cost her. Meet me. Neutral ground, coffee. I just need an hour. Every instinct screamed no, but curiosity won. Where? We met at a coffee shop in Manhattan. Neutral territory, as promised. Diana was already there when I arrived, looking nothing like her usual polished self. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, she wore minimal makeup, and her clothes, while expensive, were subdued. She looked almost human. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat down. "I haven't decided if I should have." She nodded, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup. "Fair enough." We sat in silence for a moment. "They're going to arrest Dad," Diana finally said. "The FBI contacted us. It's happening within days." "I know. And Mother, she's been questioned 3 times. Her lawyer thinks she might avoid charges if she cooperates, but—" "Diana, why am I here?" She looked up at me, and I was surprised to see tears in her eyes. "I'm here to apologize. I hadn't expected that. What I did to Lily—" Her voice cracked. "I can't stop seeing it. In my sleep, when I'm awake, just everywhere. I threw a child into a pool, a 7-year-old. I could have killed her." "Yes, you could have. I don't know what happened to me. I was so angry. And those shoes. It sounds insane now, doesn't it? $3,000 for shoes versus a child's life. How did I become someone who values that?" I didn't answer. "We grew up wrong, Margot. Both of us. We were taught that worth was measured in money, success, appearances, and I excelled at all of it. But somewhere along the way, I lost my humanity." "You lost your humanity when you threw my daughter in the pool. Before that, you were just a terrible person." She flinched. "I deserve that. You deserve worse." "I know." She took a shaky breath. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I understand now what I did, what we all did, how we've treated you your whole life. Do you? We made you feel worthless because you didn't fit our mold. You weren't competitive enough, ambitious enough, ruthless enough. But you were the only one of us who was actually good, kind, human. And we punished you for it." Tears were streaming down her face now. I felt nothing. "Dad made me part of the fraud scheme when I started my firm," she continued. "I needed clients, and he said he could help. All I had to do was provide cover stories for his companies, make them look legitimate. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to know." "But you knew." "Yes, I knew something wasn't right. But I looked the other way because it benefited me. I'm a coward, Margot. And a criminal, apparently." "You're definitely a criminal. The coward part is debatable. Cowards don't usually try to drown children." She let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "I'm going to lose everything. My firm, my license, my reputation. Dad's lawyers say I might be able to avoid prison if I cooperate fully, but my career is over." "And you want me to feel sorry for you?" "No, I want you to know that you won. You took everything from us, and we deserved it. Every bit of it." I studied her, this woman who had been my tormentor for 32 years, who had thrown my daughter in the pool, who had looked at me with contempt and disgust for as long as I could remember. She was broken now, shattered. And I felt nothing. "Diana, I didn't do this to win. I did it because you tried to kill my daughter and no one was going to hold you accountable. I did it because you and Dad were going to take her from me. I did it to protect her. I know? Good. Then you know this isn't about revenge, it's about justice. Is there a difference? I thought about it, Dawn. Yes. Revenge is about making you hurt. Justice is about making sure you can't hurt anyone else. She was quiet for a long moment. I'm going to testify against Dad, she finally said. Full cooperation, laws. The FBI wants everything I know about the scheme, and I'm going to give it to them. That's a start. It means he'll definitely go to prison. 20 years probably, maybe more. Good. Margot, he's our father. No. He's the man who held me by the neck while my daughter drowned and said she didn't deserve to live. That's not a father. Diana nodded slowly. You're right. She stood up, leaving her coffee untouched. I won't contact you again. I know I have no right. But for what it's worth, I'm sorry. For everything. For the shoes. For the pool. For 32 years of making you feel less than. You were never less than, Margot. You were always the best of us. She left before I could respond. I sat there for a long time, my coffee growing cold, thinking about what she'd said. The best of us. I didn't feel like the best of anything. I felt tired, broken, grieving for a family that had never really existed. But I also felt something else. Something small but growing, free. For the first time in my life, I was free. My father was arrested on a Tuesday morning. I watched the news coverage from my apartment. Lily at school, Dial, Kelly beside me on the couch. Gerald Chen, handcuffed, being led from his home. My mother in the background, sobbing. The flash of cameras, the shouting reporters. Federal charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and securities fraud, the anchor said. If convicted, Chen faces up to 30 years in federal prison. 30 years. He was 67. He would die in prison. How do you feel? Kelly asked quietly. I don't know, I admitted. Empty. That makes sense. He's my father, Kelly. Despite everything, he's still my father. And I'm the reason he's going to prison. No. Her voice was firm. He's the reason he's going to prison. He committed the crimes. He chose to do those things. You just made sure he was held accountable. He would have gotten away with all of it if you hadn't nearly died trying to save your daughter. If they hadn't tried to kill Lily and then take her from you. Margot, you didn't start this. They did. Every single choice they made led to this moment. You just stopped letting them get away with it. She was right. I knew she was right. But it still hurt. That evening, my mother called. I answered because I wasn't sure I'd ever hear from her again. Margot. Her voice was barely a whisper. Mother. Your father. She couldn't finish the sentence. I know. I saw. Silence. Then, why? You know why. You've destroyed this family. No, Mother. You destroyed this family, you and Dad and Diana. I just made sure there were consequences. He's your father. He held me by the neck while Lily drowned. He said she didn't deserve to live. He didn't mean Yes, he did. And so did you, standing there doing nothing. I heard her crying on the other end of the line. I loved you, she said. I always loved you. Did you? Because love doesn't look like what you did. Love protects. Love defends. Love doesn't stand by while your granddaughter drowns. I was in shock. You had 34 years to defend me against them, and you never did. Not once. You chose them over me every single time. And when it mattered most, when Lily was dying in that pool, you chose them again. Margot, please, don't call me again. I hung up. Then I went to Lily's room, where she was playing with her unicorns, and I held her tight enough that she squirmed. Mommy, you're squishing me. Sorry, baby. I just love you so much. I love you too. Why are you sad? I'm not sad. I'm grateful. For what? For you. For us. For our little apartment and your school and Mr. Darcy and Kelly and everything we have. We have everything we need, Lily. Everything. She looked at me with those big brown eyes, so full of trust and love. Mummy? Yes? Can we have pizza for dinner? I laughed. A real laugh. The first one in weeks. Yes, baby. We can absolutely have pizza. 6 months after my father's arrest, things had changed dramatically. My mother had accepted a plea deal, 2 years in federal prison, reduced to 18 months with good behavior. She'd cooperated fully with the investigation, providing testimony that helped seal the case against my father. In exchange, she'd avoided the longest sentence she could have faced. Diana had done the same, though her cooperation was more extensive. She had turned over every document, every email, every scrap of evidence she had. In the end, the prosecutors had agreed not to charge her criminally in exchange for her testimony and the surrender of her law license. She'd also been disbarred from practicing PR anywhere in New York. Her career was over. Her reputation was destroyed. She'd become a cautionary tale in business magazines, the rising star who fell spectacularly from grace. My father had refused any deal. His lawyer had advised him to cooperate. But Gerald Chen didn't cooperate. He fought, and he lost. The trial had lasted 3 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. My testimony, yes, I had to testify, was just a small part of it, focusing on what I'd overheard in his office that night. But the documents spoke louder than any words. $200 million in fraud. Shell companies. Diverted funds. False investments. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 28 years in federal prison. I wasn't at the sentencing. I couldn't bear it. But Marcus called me afterward. It's done, he said. He's going away for a very long time. Thank you, I whispered, for everything. Thank me by living well, Margot. That's the real revenge. Living well. It was harder than it sounded. I was still working at the marketing agency, though Brianna had promoted me to senior analyst after I'd helped land a major client. The pay was better. We'd moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in a nicer part of Queens. Lily had her own room now, decorated with unicorn wallpaper I'd hung myself. Kelly and Marcus had become my closest friends. We had dinner together once a week, the 4 of us. Me, Lily, Kelly, and her boyfriend James, who'd proposed last month. I was building a life, a real life. One not defined by my family's wealth or expectations or dysfunction. But some days, The weight of everything that had happened pressed down on me until I couldn't breathe. One of those days, I found myself in Dr. Martinez's office as the therapist Lily saw, who'd agreed to see me too. I feel guilty, I admitted. They're in prison, their lives are destroyed, and I feel guilty. Why do you think that is? Because I did this. I'm the reason they're being punished. Are you? Or are they the reason? Both, maybe. They committed the crimes, but I exposed them. If you hadn't what? Let them continue stealing money? Let them take your daughter? Let them destroy you? I didn't answer. Margot, you're experiencing complicated grief. You're mourning the family you wished you had, while simultaneously processing the trauma of the family you actually had. That's not easy. I keep seeing my father's face when they let him out. He looked at me like he hated me. He probably does. He's my father. Fathers aren't supposed to hate their children. No, they're not. But your father isn't capable of the love you deserved. That's not your fault. It's his damage. But you have to stop trying to earn something he can't give. How do I do that? By focusing on what you can give. To Lily. To yourself. To the people who do love you. After my session, I picked Lily up from school. She ran to me, her backpack bouncing, her smile wide. "Mommy, Sophia invited me to her birthday party. Can I go, please?" "When is it?" "Saturday." Her mom said we're going to have cake and play games, and there's going to be a bounce house. Her excitement was infectious. I smiled, really smiled. "Of course you can go. You're the best mommy ever. The best mommy ever. Not the perfect daughter my parents wanted. Not the successful businesswoman my father demanded. Not the polished socialite my mother expected. Just the best mommy ever." That was enough. Winter turned to springs. Snow melted. Flowers bloomed. Life moved forward. One morning I received a letter from my mother. The prison return address stared up at me from the envelope. I almost didn't open it, but I did. "Dear Margot, I know you asked me not to contact you. I'm respecting that by writing rather than calling. You can throw this away if you want. I would understand. I've had a lot of time to think in here. Time to consider the person I became and how I failed you. I'm not writing to make excuses or ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve either. I want you to know that I understand now what we did to you, what I did by not protecting you. You were always the kind one, the gentle one, the one with a heart full of love. And we punished you for it, because we didn't know how to value those things. We valued success and money and appearances, and you valued people. We should have learned from you. Instead, we tried to change you. When Diana threw Lily in the pool, I should have jumped in myself. I should have fought your father. I should have chosen you and my granddaughter over everything else. But I froze. I've been freezing my whole life, letting your father and Diana dictate while I stood by. It's no excuse. It's just the truth. I hear you're doing well. That Lily is thriving. I'm glad. You're a wonderful mother. Everything I wasn't. I won't write again unless you want me to. But please know that I love you, even though I did a terrible job of showing it. And I'm proud of you. For building a life, for protecting your daughter, for being strong enough to do what was right, even when it was hard. Your mother, I sat with the letter for a long time. Then I put it in a drawer and didn't respond. Maybe someday, but not yet. Marcus called me in April with unexpected news. The federal prosecutors recovered most of the fraud money, he said. There's a victim restitution fund being established, and guess what? You're entitled to a portion. What? Why? You were a victim too? The money your father controlled was gained through fraud. When you were cut off from family resources, you were affected. Plus, you're the whistleblower who exposed the scheme. There's a provision for that. How much are we talking about? Significant. Very significant. Enough that you wouldn't have to work unless you wanted to. I was stunned. I don't want their money. It's not their money. It's recovered funds that rightfully belong to the victims. You're a victim, Margot. But think about it. Think about what you could do. College fund for Lily. Security. Comfort. It's not taking their money. It's taking back what they stole from everyone, including you. I thought about our apartment. Nice, but small. About the college fund I was struggling to build. About the worry that kept me up at night, wondering if I could provide for Lily the way she deserved. I'll think about it, I said. I talked to Kelly about it that night. Take the money, she said immediately. It feels wrong. Why? Your father stole millions. You exposed him. The money is being returned to people he hurt, and you were one of those people. How is that wrong? I don't know, it just feels like I'm benefiting from their downfall. You are benefiting from their downfall. That's justice. That's how it's supposed to work. The bad guys get punished and the good guys get compensation. You're the good guy here, Margot. Am I, though? Yes, you are. You protected your daughter. You stopped criminals. You did the right thing. Now let the system work for you for once. I looked at Lily, playing in the living room. I could put her through college, I said slowly. You could put her through college, buy a house, start your own business, take care of yourself for the first time in your life. Margot, you deserve this. Do I? Yes, you absolutely do. I accepted the restitution. It was more money than I'd ever had in my life, enough to be truly comfortable, to stop worrying about every dollar. I bought a house in Connecticut, not in my parents' town, but in a smaller community near Bangor. 3 bedrooms, a yard for Lily to play in, a kitchen big enough to actually cook in. It felt like a dream. I quit my job at the marketing agency and started my own freelance business. My clients were small, local businesses, startups, people who couldn't afford big agencies but needed good marketing. It was satisfying work, the kind that let me help people while also paying the bills. Lily loved her new school, her new friends, her new room. She had nightmares less frequently now. Dr. Martinez said she was healing well. We were both healing. One evening, as we sat on the back porch, watching fireflies, Lily asked me something that stopped my heart. Mommy, am I going to be like Grandpa and Aunt Diana when I grow up? What do you mean, baby? Mean? You know, bad. I pulled her onto my lap, hugging her close. No, sweetheart. You're not going to be like them. How do you know? Because they were raised to value the wrong things. They were taught that money and success and power were more important than kindness and love and family. But you're being raised to know what really matters. What really matters? People. Love. Kindness. Being good to others. Working hard, but also being Kale. Saying sorry when you're wrong and standing up when something isn't right. Like you did. Yes. Like I did. She was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then, Mommy. Yes? I think you're really brave. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you, baby. You're welcome. Can I have ice cream? I laughed. Sure. As summer faded into fall, I finally felt like I could breathe again. The nightmares had mostly stopped. The panic attacks were rare. The grief, while still present, was manageable. I had built something new from the ruins of my old life. Something better. Something true. Marcus and Kelly came over for dinner one evening, bringing wine and laughter and the easy comfort of real friendship. To Margot, Kelly toasted after dinner, Lily already asleep upstairs, who proved that the best revenge really is living well. To living well, Marcus echoed. I raised my glass, looking at my friends, at my home, at the life I had created. To the truth, I said. The truth set me free. And it had. Not easily, not painlessly, but it had set me free nonetheless. 3 years after the pool incident, I received a phone call that changed everything again. I was in my home office, working on a marketing campaign for a local bakery, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. I'd learned to be cautious about unexpected calls. But something made me pick up. Ms. Chen? This is Dr. Patel from Connecticut Medical Center. I'm calling about your father. My stomach dropped. What about him? He's been transferred here from the federal facility. He's had a stroke, a significant one. I'm afraid his prognosis isn't good. I sat down heavily. How long does he have? It's difficult to say. Days, possibly. Maybe weeks. But given the extent of the damage, it won't be long. I see. His medical directive lists you as next of kin. We need to discuss end-of-life care decisions. I laughed, though there was no humor in it. I'm his next of kin? After everything? According to our records, yes. Your mother is incarcerated. Your sister has been removed from legal responsibility, and you're listed as primary family contact. Of course I was. Even from prison, even after everything, my father had found a way to burden me with his choices. What do you need from me? I asked wearily. A decision about extreme measures. Life support, resuscitation. Given his condition, we need to know how aggressively to treat. I need to think about it. Of course. But time is a factor. I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time. Kelly's response was immediate. You don't owe him anything, she said when I called her. Not a single thing. Let the hospital make medical decisions. You don't need to be involved. But I'm involved. They say I'm next of kin. Then sign the papers and walk away. Margot, this man held you by the neck while your daughter drowned. He doesn't deserve your mercy. I know. But what? He's still my father, and he's dying. So? People die. Bad people die too. It doesn't make them less bad. She was right. I knew she was right. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, after Lily was asleep, I sat in the living room and tried to sort through my feelings. My father was dying. The man who had raised me, who had taught me to ride a bike impatiently, who had attended my graduation disapprovingly, who had walked me down the aisle reluctantly, was dying. He was also the man who had stolen $200 million, who had tried to have my daughter killed, who had said she didn't deserve to live, who had spent his entire life making me feel worthless. How did I reconcile those two realities? I didn't have an answer. Eventually, I fell asleep on the couch, dreaming of pool water and prison bars. The next morning, I made a decision. I'm going to see him, I told Kelly. Are you insane? Probably. But I need closure. I need to look him in the eye and, I don't know, understand. Or maybe I just need to say goodbye to the father I wished I'd had. Margot, I know it's stupid. I know he doesn't deserve my time or energy. But if I don't go, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering. Wondering what? If he ever loved me. If any of it was real. If I made the right choice. Kelly was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you want me to come with you? No. This is something I need to do alone. You're sure? Yes. Then I'll be here when you get back. With wine. Lots of wine. The hospital was cold and sterile, smelling of antiseptic and fear. I found my father's room on the 3rd floor. He was hooked up to machines, heart monitor beeping steadily, oxygen tube in his nose, IV drip in his arm. He looked old, fragile, diminished. This was the man who had terrorized me. This shrunken figure in a hospital bed. I pulled a chair up beside him and sat down. His eyes opened at the sound. Margot. His voice was weak, slurred from the stroke. Father. We stared at each other. 3 years of silence, of rage, of grief hanging between us. You came, he said finally. I don't know why. Neither do I. He coughed weakly. I told them to list you. Knew you'd come. You always were too soft. Soft. Even now, even dying, he saw compassion as weakness. Why did you do it? I asked. Any of it. The fraud. The pool. Trying to take Lily. Why? He was quiet for a long moment. I thought he might not answer. Then, because I could. That's it? Because you could. Because I was taught that power means taking what you want. Because success means winning at any cost. Because family means loyalty to the name, not the people. You taught me those things too. Yes, but you didn't learn them. You always were the failure of the family. I flinched despite myself. Until you weren't, he continued. Until you proved you were the most ruthless of us all. You took everything, Margot. Everything we valued. Our money, our reputation, our freedom. You destroyed us completely. You tried to kill my daughter. I tried to teach you both a lesson. Discipline, respect. She was 7, Jen. Old enough to learn. I stared at him. At this man who saw nothing wrong with nearly drowning a child over dirty shoes. You're a monster, I said quietly. Perhaps. But I'm also your father. And you're more like me than you want to admit. I am nothing like you. No, you plotted. You planned. You used information as a weapon. You destroyed your enemies utterly. That's me, Margot. That's what I taught you. The words hit like a physical blow. I protected my daughter, I said. That's not the same as what you did, isn't it? The outcome was the same. Complete devastation. You won, we lost, just like any game I ever played in business. I didn't have a response to that. Are you going to apologize? I asked finally. For any of it? He laughed weakly. Why would I apologize for losing? I made my moves. You made better ones. That's not something to apologize for. It's something to respect. I don't want your respect. But you have it. For the first time in your life, you have it. His eyes met mine. You beat me, Margot. My soft, weak, emotional daughter beat me at my own game. I'm almost proud. Almost. You could have been so much more if you'd been harder. If you'd learned earlier what you finally learned when Diana threw Lily in that pool. What did I learn? That love makes you powerful. That protecting what matters gives you a reason to destroy your enemies. That the soft heart can be the sharpest weapon. He coughed again. I wish I'd understood that sooner. Maybe things would have been different. They wouldn't have been. No, probably not. I am eating what I am, what I was made to be, but you... He looked at me with something almost like tenderness. You became something better, despite me. Because of me. I didn't know what to say. Are you going to let me die? He asked bluntly. What do you mean? The life support decision. Are you going to pull the plug? Let nature take its course? I don't know. You should. It's what I would do. End it cleanly. No sentiment. No drawn-out suffering. That's not who I am. No. You'll probably let me linger because you can't bear to make the hard choice. Soft. Compassionate. I corrected. Same thing, sir. We sat in silence. The heart monitor beeped. The oxygen hissed. I won't apologize, he said finally. I'm not sorry for anything I did. I'd do it all again. I know. But he struggled with the word. Regretful. Not sorry. Regretful, well, that I never understood what you understood. That family is more than blood. That love is more than loyalty. That children deserve protection, not discipline. It was as close to an apology as I would ever get from Gerald Chen. Will you tell Lily something for me? He asked. What? Tell her that her grandfather was a foolish man who valued all the wrong things. Tell her to be like her mother, soft-hearted, strong. Brave enough to love. Tears were streaming down my face now. I'll tell her. Good. He closed his eyes. Go now, I'm tired. I stood up, looked at him one more time. This broken, dying man who had caused so much pain, and left. He died 3 days later. I'd signed the papers agreeing to comfort care only. No extreme measures, no resuscitation, just pain management and dignity. It was what he'd wanted, what I needed. I didn't attend the funeral. Neither did Diana or my mother. There was no funeral, actually. Just a quiet cremation arranged by the hospital. The ashes were sent to me. I scattered them in the garden behind my house, where Lily's unicorn wind chime hung from the maple tree. Goodbye, Father. I whispered. I hope you find peace. I hope I can too. The wind picked up, carrying the ashes away, and I felt lighter. 2 months after my father's death, I received an unexpected visitor. It was Saturday morning. Lily was at Sophia's house for a playdate. I was in the garden, planting tulip bulbs for spring, when I heard a car pull up. I looked up and froze. Diana. She looked different, thinner, older. The polished executive was gone, replaced by someone who looked almost ordinary in jeans and a plain sweater. She stopped at the garden gate. I should have called, she said. I'm sorry, I can leave if... No. The word surprised me. Come in. She opened the gate and walked slowly toward me, as if approaching a wild animal. Your garden is beautiful, she said. Thank you. We stood awkwardly for a moment. Tea? I finally asked. Please. I led her inside, washed the dirt from my hands, and put the kettle on. She sat at the kitchen table, looking around. This is nice, she said. Homey? That's the idea. Lily? At a friend's house. Good. I wanted to talk to you first. The kettle whistled. I made tea, chamomile for her, green for me, and sat across from her. Why are you here, Diana? She wrapped her hands around the mug, staring into the tea. Father's death. It changed something in me. I've been in therapy for 2 years now. Court-ordered at first, then because I needed it. And my therapist said I need to make amends. Real ones. Not just apologies, but actual attempts to repair what I broke. You can't repair what you broke. I know, but I have to try. She looked up at me. I've spent the last year thinking about what I did. Not just the pool, all of it. The years of putting you down, making you feel worthless, excluding you, judging you. I was horrible, Margot. Truly horrible. Yes, you were. I was raised to be competitive, to see you as my enemy rather than my sister. Father pitted us against each other from the beginning, and I won. I won every battle, but lost everything that mattered. What did you lose? My sister, my humanity, my chance at a real family. I threw away my niece for a pair of shoes. Her voice cracked. What kind of monster does that? I didn't answer. I've replayed it 1,000,000 times, she continued. The moment I grabbed her, the moment I threw her, the splash, and every time, I try to understand what I was thinking, and I can't. I can't explain how I became someone capable of that. You were always capable of it. You just never had the opportunity before. She flinched but didn't argue. I'm not here to ask for forgiveness, she said. I know I don't deserve it. I'm here to tell you that I understand now. What you did, exposing us, was right. We were criminals. We were monsters. And someone needed to stop us. It wasn't about stopping you. It was about protecting Lily. Same result. You protected her by stopping us. She took a shaky breath. I want to make amends. I don't know how. I have money. My trust fund was separate from Father's criminal assets. I want to set up a fund for Lily, for her college, her future. I want to give back what I took from her. Taken literally or figuratively, both. I took her safety, her trust in family, her innocence. I can't give those back, but I can try to provide for her future. I considered it. I don't need your money. I know. You have the restitution. You've built a life. But this isn't about need. It's about trying to right a wrong that can never be truly righted. And what do you want in return? Nothing. I don't believe that. She was quiet for a moment. You're right. I want a chance. Not now, not even soon. But someday, maybe, a chance to know my niece. To show her that people can change. That the aunt who hurt her has become someone different. That's a lot to ask. I know. And you have every right to say no. To tell me to leave and never come back. But I had to ask. I thought about Lily. About the nightmares that still sometimes plagued her. About the questions she asked about her family. I can't answer that right now, I said finally. I understand. But I won't say never. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. We sat in silence, drinking our tea. What are you doing now? I asked. For work. Volunteer work, mostly. I can't practice law or PR, so I've been working with non-profit organizations. Drug rehabilitation programs, actually. Helping people rebuild after they've destroyed their lives. That's ironic. That's the point. I was addicted too. To success, to power, to being the best. It destroyed me just as surely as any drug. And you're sober now? She smiled sadly. Working on it. Every day. I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. And saw something I'd never seen before. Vulnerability. Humanity. The fund, I said. If you want to set it up, I won't stop you. But it's for Lily's future, and I control how and when it's used. Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. Hey. And Diana? Yes? This doesn't mean we're okay. We might never be okay. I understand. But thank you. For coming. For trying. For being honest. She stood up, leaving her tea half finished. Thank you for listening. That's more grace than I deserve. I walked her to the door. Margot, she said as she stepped outside. Yes? You really are the best of us. Father said it before he died. That you were stronger than any of you's ever understood. He was right. He told me something similar. Then it might be the only truthful thing he ever said. She got in her car and drove away. I stood on the porch for a long time thinking about family, forgiveness, and the complicated space between justice and grace. That night, after Lily was home and fed and bathed and in bed, I sat down with her for our nightly talk. Mummy, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think people can change? Really change, like bad people becoming good? I thought about Diana, about our conversation, about the look in her eyes. I think people can try to change, I said carefully. It's very hard, and not everyone succeeds. But I think the trying matters. Like Aunt Diana. I was surprised. What about Aunt Diana? She sent me a letter. It came to school. She said she was sorry for hurting me, and that she hopes someday I can forgive her, but she understands if I can't. My heart clenched. Diana had written directly to Lily? How did that make you feel? I asked carefully. Lily was quiet for a moment, her small face serious. Confused. She was really mean to me. She hurt me. But her letter sounded sad. Like she really meant it. People can be sorry and still have done terrible things. I know. Dr. Martinez says that forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay. It's about not letting it hurt you anymore. Smart kid. Smart therapist. That's right. So maybe someday I can forgive her. But not yet. That's perfectly okay, baby. You take all the time you need. She snuggled into her pillow. Mommy? Yes? I'm glad you're my mom. You always protect me. Always, baby, always. I kissed her forehead and turned off the light. A year after Diana's visit, my mother was released from prison. I learned about it through Marcus, who still kept tabs on my family's legal situations. She's out, he said, during one of our weekly calls. Early release for good behavior. She's living in a small apartment in Hartford. Alone? Yes. Diana offered to let her stay with her, but apparently your mother declined. Said she needed to learn to be independent for the first time in her life. I didn't know how to feel about that. She'll probably try to contact you, Marcus warned. I know. What will you do? I don't know yet. The letter came 2 weeks later. My mother's handwriting. Elegant. Careful. The product of years of penmanship lessons. Dear Margot, I'm home, though I'm not sure where home is anymore. I've thought about writing to you every day for the past 18 months. I've written hundreds of letters in my mind, trying to find the words to explain, to apologize, to make you understand. But every version sounds hollow. Because what words can explain standing by while your granddaughter nearly died? There are none. I failed you, Margot. Not just that day at the pool, but every day of your life. I let your father and Diana diminish you because I was too weak to stand up to them. I chose peace over protection, comfort over courage, and you and Lily paid the price. Prison gave me time to think. Too much time. I've examined every moment of my life, every choice I made, every time I stayed silent when I should have spoken. The weight of my cowardice is crushing. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it, and you have no obligation to give it. I'm writing to tell you that I understand now what I did and didn't do. I understand that my silence was violence, that my passivity was participation, that by not stopping them, I enabled them. Your father is gone. Diana is trying to rebuild herself into something better. And I am here, alone, in a small apartment, learning at 70 years old how to be a person instead of an accessory to other people's lives. I don't expect you to respond. I don't expect anything from you. But if you ever, someday, maybe, want to talk, I'm here. Not as the mother I was, but as the person I'm trying to become. I love you. I always have, even though I did such a terrible job of showing it. You and Lily are the best things this family ever produced, and we nearly destroyed you both. I'm sorry. Those words are inadequate, but they're true. Your mother. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in the drawer with the one from prison. Lily found me crying in the kitchen that evening. Mommy, what's wrong? I wiped my eyes quickly. Nothing, baby. Just thinking about grown-up stuff. She climbed into the chair beside me, her expression serious. Is it about Grandma? Sometimes her perception startled me. How did you know? Because you always look sad when you think about her. Sad and angry at the same time. I got a letter from her. What did it say? I hesitated. How much should I share with a 10-year-old? She said she's sorry for everything. Do you believe her? I don't know. Lily was quiet for a moment. Remember when Tommy pushed me at recess last year? Yes. And he said sorry, but I didn't believe him because he'd pushed me before. I remember. But then he kept being nice. Like, really nice, for a long time, and eventually I believed him because he showed me with his actions, not just his words. Out of the mouths of babes. That's very wise, baby. So maybe Grandma has to show you, not just say it. And maybe that takes a long time near. And maybe you never believe her. But at least she's trying. I pulled her into a hug. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just didn't notice because you were too busy being sad. I laughed despite myself. Fair point. Can we have tacos for dinner? Yes, definitely yes. 2 years passed. Lily thrived. She was 12 now, all legs and attitude and fierce intelligence. She'd inherited my love of books and her father's mathematical mind, the one good thing he'd contributed. She had friends, interests, dreams. She still saw De Martinez occasionally, but the nightmares were rare. The pool was a scar, not an open wound. My business had grown. I'd hired 2 employees, young, eager marketing graduates who brought fresh ideas and enthusiasm. We'd moved from my home office to a small space downtown. Our clients had expanded from local businesses to regional companies. I was successful. Not Chen-level successful, but comfortable and proud. Kelly and James had gotten married, and I'd been the maid of honor. They were expecting their first child, a girl they planned to name after me. Marcus had become a dear friend, someone I could count on for honest advice and terrible dad jokes. Life was good, full, rich in ways that had nothing to do with money. And yet, the letters from my mother kept coming, monthly, like clockwork. I read each one, learning about her small apartment, her volunteer work at a women's shelter, her therapy sessions, her attempts to understand who she was apart from my father's shadow. She never asked me to respond, never asked for anything, just shared her journey toward becoming someone better. Diana's trust fund for Lily grew steadily. She sent quarterly reports, businesslike and professional. She never pushed for contact, never violated the boundaries I'd set. She'd started speaking at schools about the dangers of prioritizing success over humanity. Her story, the ruthless executive who nearly killed her niece over material possessions, resonated with audiences. She was becoming an advocate for ethical business practices and family values. Both of them trying to change. Both of them respecting my distance. Both of them waiting. The turning point came unexpectedly. Lily was working on a school project, a family tree assignment. She came to me with her poster board, looking troubled. "Mommy, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "For the family tree, I need to include everyone. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone. But what do I put for your side? I looked at the board. Her father's side was completed. David's parents, his sister, his family. My side was blank. What do you want to put? The truth. But I don't know what the truth is. Are they still my family, even after what they did? It was a question I'd been asking myself for years. Blood makes them related to you, I said carefully. But family is more than blood. Family is people who love and protect you. So they're not my family. They're complicated. They're people who did terrible things but who are trying to be better. Whether you consider them family is up to you. She was quiet for a long moment. I want to meet them, she finally said. My heart stopped. What? Grandma and Aunt Diana. I want to meet them. Not because I forgive them. I don't know if I do. But because I want to see for myself if they've changed. I want to understand. Lily, you always tell me that understanding is important. That we shouldn't judge people only by their worst moments. That people can grow. Did you mean it? I had said those things many times. Yes, I meant it. Then I want to meet them. With you there, safe, but I want to see them. I looked at my daughter, brave, thoughtful, strong, and realized she was ready for something I wasn't sure I was. Let me think about it, I said. Okay. But Mommy? Yes? I think you need to meet them too. For you. So you can stop being sad. I called Kelly that night. She wants to meet them, I said. Diana and my mother. How do you feel about that? Terrified? Angry? Confused? That sounds about right. Part of me wants to say absolutely not. To protect her from them forever. But another part thinks she might be right. That maybe I need closure. That maybe holding on to all this anger is hurting me more than it's hurting them. That's a very mature realization. I don't feel mature. I feel like a scared little girl who doesn't want to face her family. You can be both, mature and scared, grown up and wounded. What do I do? What do you want to do? I thought about it, really thought about it. I want to see if they've changed. I want to know if all those letters were real. I want to stop carrying this weight. Then do that. On your terms. In your time, with all the protection and boundaries you need. You'll come? Of course. Marcus too. If you want. I want. Then we'll be there, whatever happens. I wrote to my mother that night. My first communication in 4 years. Mother, Lily wants to meet you, and Diana. She's working on a school project about family and has questions. I'm not ready to call this reconciliation, and I'm not offering forgiveness, but I'm willing to try understanding. If you're interested, I'm proposing a meeting. Neutral ground, a restaurant maybe, with Kelly and Marcus present. No pressure, no expectations, just a conversation. You can say no. I'll understand. Margot, I sent a similar letter to Diana. Both responded within days. Yes, absolutely yes. Whatever terms I set, whenever I was ready. We met on a Saturday afternoon in April. I'd chosen a quiet restaurant in a neighboring town. Neutral territory as promised. Kelly and Marcus arrived early with me and Lily, securing a large table in the back corner. Lily was nervous. I could tell by the way she kept fidgeting with her napkin. "You okay?" I asked. "Scared," she admitted. "Me too." "Really? Really? But scared doesn't mean we stop. It means we're doing something bra today." She nodded, straightening in her chair. "I'm ready." My mother arrived first. She looked older than I remembered, smaller, somehow, like she'd shrunk in the years since I'd seen her. Her clothes were simple, her makeup minimal. She carried herself differently too, less rigid, more uncertain. She saw us and stopped, tears immediately filling her eyes. "Margot, Lily!" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Hello, Mother," I said. She approached slowly, as if afraid we might disappear. "Thank you for this, for letting me." She couldn't finish. I stood and, surprising myself, hugged her briefly. She felt fragile in my arms, bird-boned and trembling. "Sit down," I said. "Diana should be here soon." She sat, her eyes never leaving Lily. "You're so big," she said, "so grown up." Lily studied her grandmother carefully. "I'm 12. I know, I've missed so much." "Yes, you have." It wasn't cruel, the way Lily said it, just factual. And somehow that was worse. Diana arrived moments later, looking as nervous as the rest of us. She'd brought flowers. Lilies, I noticed, symbolic. "These are for you," she said to Lily, handing them over. "Thank you," Lily said politely, setting them aside. Diana sat down across from my mother, and we were all together for the first time in 4 years. The silence was deafening. Kelly, bless her, broke it. "Why don't we order some food? I'm starving." We busied ourselves with menus, grateful for the distraction. Once we'd ordered, Lily spoke. "I have questions," she said directly. "Is that okay?" Diana and my mother exchanged glances. "Of course," Diana said. "Anything." Lily looked at her aunt. "Why did you throw me in the pool?" Diana paled. I was angry about the shoes, but that's not really why. The truth is, I was angry about everything. About your mother being in the house. About feeling like my perfect life was being disrupted. I took it out on you, and that was wrong. Evil, actually. There's no excuse. Did you want me to die? The question hung in the air like smoke. "No," Diana whispered. "I wanted to scare you, to punish you. I didn't think. I wasn't thinking at all. I was so consumed by rage that I forgot you were a person. A child. My niece. And I'll never forgive myself for that." Lily nodded slowly, processing. Then she turned to my mother. "Why didn't you help me?" My mother started crying. I was frozen, scared. I'd spent so many years doing nothing, saying nothing, that when it mattered most, I didn't know how to act. "I failed you completely." "You failed Mommy too." "Yes, my whole life I failed her. I let your grandfather and Dana treat her badly because I was too weak to stop them. I chose comfort over courage, and it nearly cost you your life." "Do you love us?" "More than anything. Though I know my actions haven't shown it." "Love is supposed to protect," Lily said. "That's what Mommy says. Love protects. She's right. And I didn't protect either of you. That makes me a failure as a mother and a grandmother. Lily was quiet for a long moment. I don't forgive you, she finally said. Either of you, not yet. Maybe not ever. But I understand better now. And I'm glad you're trying to be better people. Both women nodded, tears streaming down their faces. Can I ask you something? Diana said. What? Do you have nightmares about the pool? Lily considered the question. Sometimes. Not as much as before. I see a therapist who helps. I'm sorry. For every nightmare. For every moment of fear. For taking away your sense of safety. Me too, my mother added. For all of it. The food arrived, and we ate in relative silence. It was awkward, stilted, uncomfortable. But it was something. After the meal, as we were preparing to leave, Lily did something that surprised everyone. She walked over to Diana and my mother, who were standing together. I'm not ready to hug you, she said, but I'm glad you came. And I'm glad you're trying to be better. Maybe someday I'll be ready for more. But not today. That's more than enough, Diana said. More than we deserve. Yes, Lily agreed. It is. She walked back to me, took my hand, and we left. In the car, she was quiet. How do you feel? I asked. Lighter? She said. Like I was carrying something heavy, and I put it down. That's good, baby. Mommy? Yes? I think you should put your heavy thing down too. After that first meeting, things shifted. We didn't suddenly become a happy family. There was too much damage for that. Too many scars that would never fully heal. But we began something. A cautious connection. A tentative bridge across the chasm that had separated us. My mother and Diana started attending family therapy with a counselor I'd chosen. They worked on understanding their patterns, their dysfunctions, the ways they'd enabled each other and my father. Slowly, I began to participate too. It was painful work. Excavating years of hurt, of silence, of betrayal. There were sessions where I screamed, where I cried, where I couldn't speak at all. But there were also sessions where I felt understood, where old wounds began to close, where the weight on my chest lifted incrementally. Lily came to some sessions, sharing her perspective with a maturity that amazed everyone. She talked about the nightmares, the fear, the loss of innocence. But she also talked about healing, about understanding, about the power of choosing how to respond to trauma. I don't want to be angry forever, she said during one session. Anger is heavy. I'd rather carry something else. The therapist asked her what she wanted to carry instead. Understanding, she said, and maybe eventually peace. Month passed. The seasons changed. Diana started a foundation for children of trauma, using her business skills for good. She donated significant portions of her trust fund to causes that helped families heal. My mother continued her work at the women's shelter, becoming a mentor for women rebuilding their lives after abuse. I watched them both, these women who had hurt me so deeply, transform into something almost unrecognizable. Do you trust them? Marcus asked one evening when we were having dinner. I'm learning to, I admitted. It's not easy. Every time I start to believe they've changed, I remember the pool, my father's hands on my neck, the coldness in Diana's eyes. But I also see their actions now. The consistency, the effort, the genuine remorse. And I think people can change. Not everyone, not completely, but enough. And what about forgiveness? I considered the question. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. But I'm not angry anymore. Not in the same way. The rage has turned into something else. Sadness, maybe. For the family we could have been, but also acceptance of the family we actually are. That sounds like healing. It feels like it. On Lily's 13th birthday, we had a party at the house. Her friends came, filling the space with the laughter and music and teenage chaos. And for the first time in years, my mother and Diana were there too. They stayed in the background mostly, helping with food and cleanup, not trying to insert themselves too forcefully. But they were present, part of the celebration. When Lily blew out her candles, she looked at me with shining eyes. I wished for us, she whispered. What do you mean? For our family, for healing, for peace. I looked around at the scene. Kelly and James with their toddler, Marcus laughing with one of Lily's friend's parents, my mother carefully cutting cake, Diana pouring drinks, Lily surrounded by people who loved her. It wasn't the family I'd been born into. It was something better. Something we'd built from the ashes of what was destroyed. I think your wish is already coming true, I said. 5 years after the pool incident, I was invited to speak at a conference on family dynamics and resilience. The organizer had read about our story, the scandal, the fraud, the attempted drowning, the aftermath. She thought our journey toward healing might inspire others. I was terrified. You should do it, Kelly encouraged. Your story matters. It could help people. It's so personal, so painful. That's what makes it powerful. Lily agreed. Mummy, you always tell me that our stories are our strength, that sharing what we've survived helps others feel less alone. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. I agreed to speak. The conference was held in Boston, in a large hotel ballroom. Hundreds of people, therapists, social workers, survivors, family members, filled the seats. I stood backstage, my hands shaking, my heart racing. Diana appeared beside me. You're going to be amazing, she said. I'm terrified. Good. Terror means you care. I looked at her. My sister, my former enemy, now something closer to an ally. Will you come on stage with me? She blinked. What? You're part of this story. The hard part. The complicated part. But also the redemption part. I think people need to see that. That the person who caused the harm is all capable of change. Margot, I don't know if I can. You can. We can. Together. She was quiet for a long moment. Okay, she finally said. Together, skidden. We walked on the stage to polite applause. 2 women, sisters, former enemies, now something more complex. I began speaking. 5 years ago, my sister threw my 7-year-old daughter into a freezing pool because she thought Lily had dirtied her expensive shoes. My father held me by the neck to stop me from saving her and told me she didn't deserve to live. My mother stood by and did nothing. The audience was silent, riveted. That day, my family as I knew it ended. What rose from the ashes was something different, something harder, but also, eventually, something better. I told them everything: the pool, the investigation, the fraud, the trial, the aftermath. And then Diana spoke. "I was the villain in this story," she said, her voice steady but raw. "I threw a child into a pool because I valued my possessions more than her life. I was raised to be ruthless, competitive, successful at any cost. And the cost was almost my niece's life." She talked about her journey, therapy, self-examination, the long road toward understanding the monster she'd become. "I will never fully redeem myself for what I did," she said. "Some sins are too great for absolution. But I can spend the rest of my life trying to be the person I should have been. I can use my privilege and education to help others. I can be a cautionary tale for those who prioritize success over humanity." When we finished, there was a moment of silence. Then applause. Standing ovation. People crying. Afterward, dozens approached us. "Thank you for sharing. Your courage inspires me. I'm going through something similar. You give me hope." Hope. That's what we'd become. Hope that families can survive the worst. Hope that people can change. Hope that healing is possible, even after catastrophic harm. The speaking engagements continued. Diana and I became a duo, traveling to conferences, schools, corporate events. We talked about family dysfunction, the cost of toxic success culture, the possibility of redemption. We wrote a book together, The Weight of Water, a story of family, betrayal, and healing. It became a bestseller. My mother joined us for some events, sharing her perspective as the silent enabler who finally found her voice. "I was complicit in decades of abuse," she would say. "My silence allowed my husband and daughter to harm my other daughter and granddaughter. I am proof that inaction is a choice, and it's often the most destructive choice of all." Lily sometimes came to events too, especially at schools. She'd talk to teenagers about resilience, about not letting your worst experiences define you. "My aunt tried to drown me," she'd say matter-of-factly. "My grandfather said I didn't deserve to live. But I do deserve to live. I deserve happiness and love and success. My trauma is part of my story, but it's not the whole story. I get to decide what comes next." The audiences loved her. This fierce, articulate young woman who transformed victimhood into empowerment. 7 years after the pool, I was 41. Lily was 14, about to start high school. My mother was 76, still volunteering at the shelter. Diana was 39, running her foundation full-time. We weren't a normal family. We probably never would be. But we were a family in our own broken, mended, complicated way. One evening, Diana called me. "I have news," she said. "Good or bad?" "I'm not sure. Interesting." "Tell me." "Someone wants to make a documentary about our story. A real filmmaker, not some sensationalist. She wants to show the full arc, the harm, the consequences, the healing." I was quiet. "What do you think?" Diana asked. "I think it's a big decision. It would mean even more exposure, more judgment, more people knowing our business. but also more people who might be helped by seeing what's possible. True. We don't have to decide now, but I wanted you to know. I thought about it for days. Finally, I called a family meeting. Me, Lily, Diana, my mother, Kelly, Marcus. I think we should do it, I said. The documentary. But only if everyone agrees, and only if we have control over the narrative. I agree, Diana said immediately. Me too, my mother added. Our story might help someone else. Lily nodded. I'm in. Kelly and Marcus exchanged glances. We support whatever you decide, Kelly said. As long as you're protected, Marcus added. So we agreed. The documentary took a year to film. The filmmaker, Sarah, was thoughtful and careful. She interviewed each of us extensively, asking hard questions, but never exploitative ones. She filmed our therapy sessions with our permission, our family dinners, our speaking engagements. She interviewed Kelly and Marcus about what they'd witnessed. She even got permission to interview the FBI agents who'd worked the fraud case, the doctors who'd treated Lily, the therapist who'd helped us heal. The result was a 2-hour film that was honest, painful, and ultimately hopeful. It premiered at a major film festival and won awards. Suddenly, our story was everywhere. Interviews, magazine covers, talk show appearances. How did you forgive? Everyone wanted to know. I haven't, I would answer. Not completely. Forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a process. And some days I'm further along than others. Do you trust them now? I trust their actions, their consistency, their commitment to change. But trust, like forgiveness, is something that builds slowly. What about Lily? Is she okay? Lily is remarkable. She's taken her trauma and transformed it into strength. She's my hero. And she was. My 14-year-old daughter, who'd nearly drowned at 7, who'd had nightmares and therapy, and a family that had tried to destroy her, was thriving. She was president of her school's peer counseling club. She volunteered at a youth crisis center. She was applying to competitive summer programs. She'd taken the worst thing that ever happened to her and turned it into purpose. 9 years after the pool, Lily was 16 applying to colleges. She wanted to study psychology to help families in crisis. Like ours? I asked. Like ours? And worse. There are kids out there with nobody to save them. I want to be someone who saves them. I cried when she said that. My business had expanded into a full agency. We had offices in 3 states, employed 20 people, worked with major clients. Success I'd built myself, on my own terms. Diana's foundation had helped thousands of children. She'd remarried, a quiet man who loved her not for her wealth or status, but for the person she'd become. My mother had published a memoir about enabling and silence. It was used in college courses about family dynamics. We were all healing, all growing, all becoming. But scars remained. Sometimes I still woke at night, feeling my father's hands on my neck. Sometimes I still saw Lily's head going under water. Sometimes the rage would surge up, unexpected and overwhelming. That's when I'd call Dr. Martinez, or Kelly, or even Diana. I'm angry today, I'd say. That's okay, they'd respond. Feel it, but don't let it consume you. Trauma doesn't disappear. It lives in your body, your mind, your heart. But you learn to coexist with it, to honor it without being controlled by it. The 10th anniversary of the pool incident arrived on a cold March morning. I hadn't planned to mark it, but Lily had other ideas. "I want to do something," she said, "something meaningful." "What did you have in mind?" "I want to go back there, to Grandpa's house, to the pool." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because it's haunted me for 10 years. I need to face it, to reclaim that space, to show myself that it doesn't have power over me anymore." The house had been sold after the fraud investigation. A new family lived there now. "Baby, I don't know if—" "Please, Mommy, I need this." "How do you say no to that?" I contacted the new owners, explaining our situation. They were remarkably understanding. They'd heard about our story, seen the documentary. "Of course," the wife said. "Come whenever you need to." We went on a Saturday. Me, Lily, Diana, my mother, Kelly and Marcus came too, for support. The house looked different, new paint, new landscaping. But the bones were the same. And the pool. We stood at the edge, all of us, looking at the water that had nearly taken Lily's life. She was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke. "This is where I almost died. This is where my family betrayed me. This is where everything changed." Tears streamed down Diana's face. My mother was sobbing quietly. "But this is also where my mother saved me," Lily continued. "This is where I learned how strong love can be. This is where I became who I am." She took off her shoes. "Lily, what are you—" She dove into the pool. I screamed. Years of trauma surging up. But Lily surfaced immediately, laughing. "I'm okay," she called. "I'm better than okay. The water doesn't scare me anymore. Nothing does." She swam to the edge and pulled herself out, dripping and grinning. "Your turn, Mommy." I stared at her. "What?" "Jump in. Take back the water. Take back the fear." I looked at the pool, this body of water that had haunted my nightmares for a decade. Then I looked at my daughter, fierce and brave and free. I took off my shoes, and I jumped. The water was cold. Of course it was cold. But I didn't panic. I didn't sink. I surfaced, gasping, and found Lily treading water beside me. "See," she said, "we survived this. We can survive anything." Diana jumped in next, fully clothed, sobbing and laughing. My mother followed more carefully, using the steps. And there we were, 4 women, in the pool that had nearly destroyed us, taking back our story. Kelly captured the moment on her phone. 4 faces, wet and shining, smiling through tears. It became the cover image for the book's 10th anniversary edition. Lily graduated from Yale with a degree in clinical psychology. She went on to get her PhD, specializing in family trauma and resilience. She opened a practice in Connecticut, working with families in crisis. Her waiting list was months long. She married a kind man named Daniel, who'd survived his own family trauma. They had twin daughters, Maya and Grace. When the twins were 7, the same age Lily had been, she brought them to visit me. We sat in my garden, watching them play, their laughter filling the air. "Do they know?" I asked. "About the pool?" "Yes, age appropriately. They know that family once hurt Mommy, but family also healed together." "Do you still think about it?" "Sometimes. Less than I used to. It's part of my story, but it's not my whole story." "No, It's not. She was quiet for a moment. Thank you, Mummy. For what? For saving me. Not just from the pool. For everything after. For building us a new life. For showing me that strength isn't about being hard. It's about being brave enough to stay soft even after you've been hurt. I held her hand, this remarkable woman who'd been my tiny, drowning daughter. You saved me too, I said. You gave me something to fight for, to build for, to become better for. Diana walked into the garden then, carrying a pitcher of lemonade. At 54, she was softer, gentler. Nothing like the sharp-edged woman who'd thrown a child into a pool. Behind her came my mother, 81 now but spry, her face lined with age and hard-won wisdom. Girls, Diana called to the twins. Lemonade. They ran over, their dark hair flying, their laughter bright. My mother sat beside me, watching her great-granddaughters with tears in her eyes. We almost lost this, she said quietly. All of it. Yes, we almost did. I'm grateful every day that we didn't. Me too. Diana joined us, handing out glasses. To family, she said, raising hers. We clinked glasses, 4 women, 3 generations, 1 terrible history, and 1 beautiful future. To family, we echoed, and we meant it. If you've ever felt like your family has broken you beyond repair, if you've ever wondered whether the people who should have loved you were capable of it, if you've ever stood on the edge of destruction, wondering if you'd survive, I want you to know something. You are not defined by their damage. You are not limited by their failures. You are not condemned to repeat their patterns. You can take the worst they gave you and transform it into the best of you. You can protect what matters. You can rebuild from ruins. You can become someone they never imagined you capable of being. And the revenge? The real revenge? It's not destroying them. It's becoming yourself. It's living fully. It's loving fiercely. It's surviving their darkness and creating your own light. That's the weight of water. It can drown you, or it can teach you to swim. I chose to swim, and I've never stopped.